We're on.
We're on. All right.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to the Ashes of Creation live stream. I am Stephen Sharif.
I'm Jeffrey Bard.
And
I'm Peter.
There we go.
excellent.
We did it.
Perfect.
Soft Peter.
So the lineup is a little bit different this afternoon because we are actually trying to get some videos into your guys' hands. We're doing a playtest right now with some of the new stuff that we've been working on. And hopefully that will all come together really soon, and Stephen will join us at that point. But yeah, so we've been working hard, like always, continue to progress and push the genre forward. So because we're doing things a little bit backwards today, we're probably going to start with questions, I think. Unless you guys have anything to add. This is actually Michael Bacon, and this is actually Peter, in case people are new to the stream. I'm Jeffrey Bard.
There you go.
There's always new people, which is we're always glad to bring you into the fold.
And John is running the board.
John is running the board again.
That's true.
He's turning into a little AV guy.
There you go.
So
Jeff and I will check some questions since we're going to front load with questions today. So,
How's the sound?
oh,
can they hear us? It looks like they can. I'm going to trust that they can, unless I hear somebody yelling at me. Yell at me, John, if this doesn't work. Okay.
let's see.
One of the questions from the forums is, and if we don't happen to answer your question, it's usually not because we don't like the question, it's just that we're not ready to answer it at this point yet.
Right. Well, sometimes people we don't answer them because we don't like them.
Well,
it's not always the case, right?
Michael may not.
There you go.
But I like everybody, so there's no reason for me to gloss over it. But like in the forums, for instance, there's a couple of questions at the top that we don't quite have answers for explicitly yet. So it'd just be a lot of kind of riffing on our parts. But we'll start with, are you at your bigger studio yet? Could we get a tour? Obviously, we are still at our old studio, but we are bursting at the seams. We have people up in the balconies. They're kind of working out of their cars. So we do need a new space very soon, but we haven't gotten there yet. Santi182 asks, what are the other ways, besides death, to get rid of corruption? So the only other alternate way that we've talked about so far is doing quests to get rid of it, where there are sort of religious-focused quests that send you through like ways of getting rid of that corruption and becoming, part of the world again, and getting rid of that corruption. It's kind of looked at as a time sink, so it's not going to be easy or quick, but it is probably going to be the only other way to get rid of corruption other than dying. Yeah. You got any for me, Pete?
The channel is a little slow. Oh wait, there we go.
Nagash asks, when can we expect to hear about new lore? We were just talking about this not too long ago. We want to start getting blogs out regarding lore. Again, though, we're really focused on this next milestone, so that's kind of why you haven't seen too much on the blog side going up. I know people are still waiting for Nodes Part 3, but it's really kind of a matter of putting people in the best place to get stuff done here. Once we get past this milestone, I think we'll get a lot more regular in terms of what we expose to the public, and lore is part of that.
Yeah. There's a question here from Agent Rando. What is your favorite feature of AOC that has already been implemented? And if possible, what are your most, basically, what is the yet to come feature that you're looking forward to most?
Oh goodness, that's a good question.
That's a good question.
Yeah. Michael.
Are the baby bear backpacks in yet?
That's true.
Oh my gosh.
That's right.
Are they
I
there?
forgot about that.
I don't remember.
Now it's real.
Remember, Michael Bacon is on the podcast, so everything here is Bacon confirmed.
Yeah, exactly.
But what's your favorite part of the game so far?
My favorite part of the game so far? I don't know. I guess the environments are cool. I like the environments.
I wonder
biased.
why.
I'm biased on that.
Impartial opinions on environment.
Peter?
Let's see. I think the thing I'm looking forward to most is implementing the economy and seeing how that works with a much larger populace. Because it's one thing to think about things when you have, 100 or a few hundred people on server, and it's another thing to think about it when you have thousands and thousands.
Yeah,
of
when
people
you
on
actually
server.
have it at scale
Right.
and you start seeing how things really work
Exactly.
versus how you imagine them working.
Right. Yeah, and that's when it becomes super fun.
It's also when you've figured out whether you've done a good job or not.
It's all kind of at once, right?
Yeah.
But so far, I mean, I'm really enjoying the dungeons and the raids. That's been super fun. Getting people together and kind of, winning those battles has been really rewarding. So that's probably my favorite thing so far.
Yeah.
It's been fun just traveling around in the town.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
mean, it's cool
Just-
seeing what stuff there is to do, what stuff we've snuck in there and people are finding, which is
Right,
cool.
all the Easter eggs.
But I'd say for me, the most enjoyable part, and this is kind of because I, as a designer, I've always usually worked in content, which is story and quests and sort of like the events that happen in the game. But I've been able to get my hands dirty with the ability system here. That's mostly under a keel, but being able to work on that side of things, on the system side, has been a lot of fun for me. And then also playing with those abilities that I've made has been a crap ton of fun. One of the abilities I just worked on was this darkness ability, which removes the ability for people to actually see in the game.
Super cool.
And it's a lot of fun to see it play out and have people react to it and not know what's going on.
Pretty
and,
jarring at first
yeah.
when you see it for the first time.
But
Pretty cool.
it's effective and it's fun and it doesn't do any damage, and that's one of the things I really love about it. One of the things I'm looking forward to the most, though, is the narrative system. It's the thing that I put the most work into, and it's the thing I think I'm most excited about, to see how again, like the economy, how stuff works at scale, and how the storytelling visual that I have in my head, how that ends up playing out to players who don't know all the pieces that go with it. I'm really excited to see how that goes.
Just to get it a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, you
Sorry,
already did
I was
that?
distracted by
There's a
sound
trim
issues.
button.
Oh, we have sound.
Because what's a
issues?
stream without
Perfect.
a sound issue?
Go up, right there. Those red buttons. What
John
those
is just turning random buttons at this point,
You actually
hoping
turn
that
every
something will
dial
work.
to max
Turn it up a little
just to
bit.
see how it works. This is
I hope nobody's listening with headphones.
trust the process.
Which mic do you have,
Is it
Pete?
too quiet?
Number 3?
Do you have 3?
I don't know.
I think it's 3. I think I have.
Let's all check our.
Let's do a little.
I'm one.
You're one, I'm 2, so. Yeah,
You
so
must be
3.
3.
I'm 3.
Should we turn the trim knob up about 25? Or...
Saying it's fine now.
Oh, okay, it's fine now.
Okay.
Yay! Good job.
Thanks, John.
Thank you. Well done. Let's see. Let's see if there's another one.
Sure, I'll look too.
So one kind of philosophical question. Voxus asks, how hard is the game? And they comment, MMOs are known to be mind-numbingly easy.
Yeah, I mean that's a tough question, right? Like, we want there to be kind of accessible content for every player, right? So difficulty really just depends on what you're going after. There is difficulty in running a guild.
Right.
There is, difficulty in fighting creatures. There is difficulty in finding all of the resources you need to make a really epic weapon, right? And there are greater and lesser versions of all of those things. So I hesitate to call it a hardcore game, right? Because it's not hardcore for all people all the time, right? People who put more time and effort into it are definitely going to get more out of it. But that doesn't mean that a person who logs in once a week won't be able to have fun.
Right.
So it's just a matter of the scale of stuff that you're going after, right?
Yeah, and what avenue you're trying to talk about. I mean, if you think about, the idea of interaction and how we talk about interaction all the time, not just like peer-to-peer, but with the server itself. I mean, there's a ton of room for difficulty on whatever scale you're trying to talk about.
Right.
Because you're going to, like you said, you're going to scale up guilds, you're going to be fighting other guilds, they're not going to be making it easy.
Right.
You're going to be out there hunting for spots, hunting for, resources, or you're going to be trying to run caravan routes, those things. Though if it was in a vacuum, might be easy. In a living
Right.
world, everything becomes much more difficult, right? So I hope that kind of answers that
Yeah,
a little bit.
with lots of different answers to those questions, right?
Yeah.
Like, running a caravan is not going to be the same thing every time you do it. You might be able to find like a super secret path that nobody knows about, and maybe I don't know about it, right? And you find it and you exploit it for a while and nobody knows, and then eventually somebody sees you and suddenly that route becomes a lot more difficult. That's kind of the way we really want that emergent gameplay to kind of come out of those options that we give you guys. And a lot of it is going to come down to other players making it more or less difficult for you. So
Sorry, trying to read questions.
it's okay. I will look at questions too. So Michael, tell me about the baby bear backpacks. What was the idea behind those?
Oh, just that you can kill a baby bear and
Why?
pull out all their stuff, and then
It wasn't going to be just
and then
a
wear
stuffed
it
bear
for like a
that you.
pack.
Oh no!
Oh,
I think that'd be awesome.
you pack it with other baby bears. Right.
Oh my god! I shouldn't open my mouth. I should have just let it lie.
Wait, you thought there was gonna be stuff?
Right.
T Elf asks, "Do we need blueprints? We've lost the stream."
Did we lose the stream?
I think we're still on there though.
We've only
so
lost air.
Oh, you
right.
moved it over.
We've
to
lost the
window.
mirror.
okay, that's cool.
Oh no! Is this window
We're
open?
good.
Everything's fine. Oh, yes,
Everything's fine.
We lost the signal.
We're just looking at a blank screen right now,
All right.
but
Oh,
it's good. Okay.
All right.
So Chris asks, are there going to be completely unique legendary quests or bosses that will drop completely unique items, skills, or titles?
That is something we definitely want to do. I think legendary. The idea of legendaries of, there is one thing, one momentous event that happens once. I think that makes those events a lot more special than, sort of everyday kind of events. Things that, maybe we spend a lot of time on it. Maybe everybody gets to experience it only once, but the memories that last from that, I think, they're a little bit cooler. Oh my God!
Buddy.
Hi, Steven. I'm sitting in your spot.
I know.
Yeah, you want me to move?
Ship? No,
I
I'm
am-
not ready yet.
I am steering us towards victory.
Good.
Victory.
Yeah.
Well, we're about to start the test.
Okay.
So that should take about 15 minutes-ish.
Okay.
And then about another 5 minutes to send that over to the stream machine.
Okay.
So you guys will get to be able to see a little bit of the progress we've been making on the phase 1 of Alpha 1, a little bit of a mock siege at a castle that Bacon built.
Just
beautiful castle.
building, work in progress.
It's very, very work in progress, very early. As you know, we did quote, I don't know if you guys can hear me okay, but we did quote,
yeah, okay, that's a
no,
good point.
it's okay, it's okay. As quarter 4 for the release of the Castle Siege mode, first phase of Alpha 1. So this is where we're at now, and you guys get to see this early iteration, and when it comes out, you'll be able to see, that progress, how it kind of went. So we're working on it.
Hey.
Yay! Also, one other caveat to put about that is that these are using the old characters from Alpha Zero. This doesn't include kind of the new stuff that we've been working on that side. So once we get to that point, I think it'll be really exciting. The whole game's going to look pretty different, and pretty rad.
Yeah.
Not that it doesn't look rad already, but what was I saying before? I was in the middle of a thought, I think.
Legendary.
Legendaries, yes.
Okay.
One of my favorite moments from EQ is when the sleeper was killed, right? Like that was a huge thing that only happened once on a server because the sleeper never respawned, and it is something that went down in the kind of like the legends of EQ is the downing of this super powerful raid boss that only woke up once and then it was done. And then the whole dungeon changed and it was kind of that idea of like, hey, things change in the world and the world kind of reacts to what you're doing. And what you do has consequences. Killing the sleeper had consequences.
For sure.
And so doing more of that I think is really exciting. And doing it in a way where it's not just killing a boss, right? It might be finding a recipe. It might be, finding a magical mount that you can't get anywhere else. These sort of singular momentous events is something that we look forward to doing.
And where do you need to put that stuff? Like when you find it?
Here we go.
I would hopefully want to put it, in my house. Display it really nicely.
No, but
so
if
that
you're
everybody
but,
can see
but
it.
you're on
once
the
you
road.
once you acquire that object, you have to get it to your house.
I mean, if it was a mount, I would
How
just
do you-
get on the mount and then I'd start riding it.
Dude, you want a baby bear backpack?
There you go.
You know
Right.
you do.
You tried to
know
dodge.
you do.
You tried your best. Evasive maneuver failed. Let's see.
Oh. We almost have to do it now.
So Guath asks, can you run your own pub, inn, or tavern, and can you get an NPC to play host?
Yes. Inns and taverns are part of our sort of the idea of the RPG space, right? Where we give players sort of reasons to be in social spaces and sort of benefit from them and take part in them, right? And so owning a tavern, that's a building that you can put on your freehold. is something you can do. You're hopefully going to put a lot of thought into where you put that tavern so that you can maximize the amount of traffic that you get in there. And then having an NPC bartender who can, distribute the drinks that you've made for that tavern is all part of what we want to do with that system.
Yep.
So
That's pretty cool.
and people can play cards there and hang out and chat and
Gamble.
get some rested. Yeah.
Gamble.
Wait, no, not gamble.
No?
Can we gamble?
Not real
Tavern
gambling.
games.
Yeah.
Virtual
Fake
gambling.
virtual gambling.
Right.
It doesn't involve loss of anything.
Let's see.
It's a little weird. We don't have us
I
up
know,
in
we're
front of
not
us,
there
so
anymore.
it's
Usually we
distracting me
see-
when I see just a really nice, pretty. I think that's Hong Kong or something. don't know,
you
it's a
can
screensaver.
try to Restart Air Parent. The bottom system tray down there. Little parrot icon. You just have to,
There was a
yeah,
question I
log in.
saw. Do we need blueprints to build our freehold? And if so, how do we obtain them? Placing down your freehold itself, just the generic plot of land that you get, is not going to require a schematic or anything like that. But the buildings that you build on your freehold will. So those are things that you can either get from other crafters
okay.
or find in the world or other various ways of getting them. I think establishing, there might be some citizenship requirements to place a plot down, but I'm not entirely certain right now.
So I have a question here
Mm-hmm.
from Hidoshin. How will the tank class be balanced? So it's a pretty large question. Typically mobs are made where they are easily defeated where anyone can solo them without a tank, or too difficult where you need to have a tank for basic level grinding. If there will be level scaling, can you explain how that would work? So basically, how do we plan on striking the balance between the absolute necessity of a tank for everything and then never needing a tank for anything else?
Right. So we expect tanks to be used in sort of party situations, right? So that may or may not include overland mobs. It depends on what zone you're in, kind of what's going on in that zone, what events are active. So you will need a tank more or less depending on what's happening in the environment. Certainly in dungeons, you will need a tank. Absolutely. I don't picture us creating any encounters that wouldn't need that sort of control. Now, we're not just focused on aggro in terms of control and managing mobs. There's lots of other ways that tanks can do that, and one of that is by modifying the battlefield itself. So that's something that we look to our tanks to do.
We
We were back for a brief second, but then we disappeared again. It scares me every time I see it because I'm like, oh, the stream is gone down. But thankfully it's solid. So that's sort of the direction in which we're going there. It's not just about mitigating damage, although that's a part of the sort of calculus there, but it's also about making sure that the mobs are doing what you want them to do. So that's kind of how we approach it. And again, like everything that we talk about, there's sort of like the micro scale and the macro scale. And at the macro scale, certainly tanks are going to be very important.
For sure. Yeah, it's. I mean, from the way we've talked about it, it sounds always like, to me, the way I think about it is that the tank setups victory conditions for the party. Right? Like they're able to, do things on the battlefield, do things to the creatures to set up the path for their party to really hammer it home.
Right.
But in more ways than just,
I have
hatred.
aggro on this
Right,
one.
I have
Yeah.
hatred. I have
Yeah.
hatred. So let's see if there's another one.
I have other ones. Do we have background music? Does music play while we're like no?
No, just for the
No, I see.
intro
We
screen.
could sing some music.
Autumn Leaf asks, Autumn Leaf is a band that I really like. Will there be teleportation magic and or magical barriers? Teleportation magic won't exist at the macro scale for the most part.
Right.
We've talked about when certain types of nodes. There's the scientific node at the metropolis level, maybe including some teleportation magic on the macro scale for that region. But sort of for the individual, we certainly will have teleportation magic. That's one of the base
Blinks.
base skills that we have for the mage right now.
Yep.
Is blink, and then magical shields and barriers and stuff is also a part of that. Although that probably won't necessarily be the mage exclusively. It'll probably be tanky more than that.
Or a mix.
Since we'll have, this is Pacha. Pacha says, since we'll have 2 weapon slots, primary, we can switch to secondary. Will all the weapons show on our characters, whether we are currently using them or not? For example, if I have my sword and shield set currently, but I have my great sword secondary set showing on my back. That's going to depend sort of on what slots those weapons take. We do want to show weapons on characters and give players the option to kind of toggle them on and off. But it gets really weird when you have like a cape and a bow and a greatsword and a pole arm, right? Like we don't want to show all of those on the character at the same time because that gets pretty goofy pretty quick. So they'll be sort of like, you'll be able to sort of say on your character which things you want to show, and then there'll be a priority system behind that that'll determine, do I show the bow if the greatsword is unequipped, or do I show the pole arm if the greatsword is unequipped? So we do it that way.
There's a question that caught my eye because I like the question. It's pretty funny. General Cat asks, will there be dual wield shields?
Dual what?
Dual wielding shields.
This is something that Peter's been pushing really hard throughout the design process, is to do the goofy style two shields. That is not going to be in the cards.
So sad. You heard it here first.
No, you will not. We have talked about it though a lot.
We have talked about it. Yeah, it's come up. Let's see.
But what if it had spikes on it?
There you go.
Yeah, I mean,
Come to my side.
yeah,
Kind of a weapon. It's a weapon, right?
Will gear be enhanceable in any way? For example, magic stones to slot in your weapon to boost attack power, etc.
Yes, that is definitely a part of the whole sort of progression, the equipment progression. We are very likely going to have a rune system, and then we'll have the ability to sort of enchant weapons outside of that too.
Yeah.
So
especially with a focus on crafting, like more things that let you separate yourself from another person.
Yeah.
Are just, it's one of the main parts that we think about with our systems.
yeah, and so and that's not always going to be like vertical progression. It's going to be, some of it's going to be giving up something to get something else. So maybe I do less physical damage but more magical damage, that kind of thing.
When you talk about the world changing based on player actions, how much of that is coded into the game to read and react, and how much is based on developer actions? And will there be a game master or GM in game who can make changes on the fly?
So a lot of this is sort of designer prescribed. These are events that we've set up in the world that react to other events. So you can get a whole chain of things going on based on how certain events were dealt with in that progression. Right. So that's the main way. We've talked about doing GM run events here and there, but our focus really is making these systems so that
Live on their own.
they can live on their own.
Yeah.
They're not dependent on somebody being here to handhold it.
Right.
I do think GM run events are really fantastic, and they kind of add a little bit of spice that you wouldn't get
Right.
otherwise. But that's something we kind of have to talk about later on.
Yeah.
The nice thing about that is that the event system right now works in such a way that we could do that pretty easily with a GM. Our tools support that, but it's more of a
We're trying to make it actually be living and breathing.
Right.
Than, we've talked about it before, but not as much changing a switch, and more so the player changes that switch.
Right.
But we've made the switch.
right, and it's up to you to kind of figure out which switches to flip and how that changes the world. and-
Absolutely.
yeah.
Okay, let's try and find another.
Peter's too slow.
Sorry.
I got my phone. We had, this is Candy. We had a small talk today about crouch and prone systems in other games. Is there going to be anything like that in the game since it would add immersion to the stealth system? P.S. Send nodes. We are working on the nodes.
No.
But in terms of crouch and prone, we're definitely going to have crouch in the game. We have discussed some bits on how that's going to interact with the stealth system. So yes, as far as prone goes, I'm not entirely sure. It's something that we could definitely add, but that requires another level of animation.
And balancing.
So, yeah.
Right.
So it's something that's on the radar, but we haven't made a hard decision on that yet.
For sure. EOCTV asks if there will be a glamour system. So I guess using that word akin to, the game that has the glamour system. Yes, I think we've talked about that before.
Yeah. It's not going to be glamour in like I cast a spell or I like apply like a temporary buff on myself. It'll probably be in the form of equipment slots. That if I want to change the appearance of my equipped helm, I put another equipped helm or another helmet in that slot, and that overrides the appearance of it. Now we've talked a little bit in terms of like how that's going to affect sort of threat assessment, and we haven't come to a good decision on that yet. But we want to give enough tools to players to still be able to accurately tell, like, hey, this guy is wearing plate, even though he looks like he's wearing robes.
Exactly.
But
we all love having players look how they want to look. So that's the glamour. It's a smart system, and I think we've all enjoyed it in games that we've played as well. So, let's see. Confessed Oak 205. You talk a lot about how positioning plays an important role in combat. How much does mobility play into that? And how mobile is a rogue, for example, and compared to a tank? So I guess, balancing mobility and things like that.
Yeah, actually, mobility is very important, especially when it comes to like, sort of seeing how the opposing player is doing something and then reacting to that fast enough so that you can get out of the way of it. Our ranger right now is actually highly mobile. I don't think all of those abilities are active in Alpha 0 yet, but when we were doing the PvP playthrough for our last packs, it was really noticeable how effective the ranger could be just through their mobility skills. We didn't load them up with a whole lot of DPS skills, but their mobility made up for that a lot if you knew what you were doing.
Yeah.
So
it was interesting to see, especially during the PAX run, seeing people once they've played the PvP scenario like a few times, seeing the ranger and like going in and out of combat.
Right. Yeah. They became a really good skirmisher, which is what we wanted, right? But it's always cool to see that kind of in play and people getting it.
Right. So this is a pretty good one. Sasha asks, or comments, I guess, a little bit of both. What I've found lately is a lack of incentive to open world PvP in most MMOs, and battle arenas and etc. take away from that. He says, I know a system in EQ2 worked was a title system, and you would earn points toward gaining or losing your title, depending on if you killed or died to an opponent, basically a level or below you. So, what things are we planning to add into the game that will hopefully incentivize open world PvP, or keep PvP kind of in the zeitgeist of our player base without disincentivizing actual open world PvP?
Right. Well, I mean, I think the big thing there is the fact that you can get resources off of somebody that you killed. There's always sort of a financial, economic reason to engage in PvP. And again, we also agree with the fact that we don't want PvP to really be happening in arenas outside of like sort of a competitive atmosphere, right? Where it's one team versus another team and we have something to prove, right? There's something fun there to get out of it. In the open world, we want there to be a reason for you to be fighting over something. And that could be a really good resource spawn, that could be a caravan, that could be somebody developing a node in a place you don't want a node. There's a lot of like economic reasons to engage in PvP outside of just the competitive aspect of it. If you engage, it should be because you want something, and if you run away, it's just because you might lose something. So that's kind of how we look at that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think the world is filled with open world reasons for
titles and stuff like that, though, are also really great motivators.
Absolutely.
And
Any
it's something that we
system.
probably will have. I think that's in the document somewhere.
Let's see. Is there any? Oh, did you have one?
I had a good one, actually. Caloron says, since traditionally, invisibility is just a combination of really good hide and move silently skills, will NPCs, patrols, guards, creatures, monsters, etc., have eyes and ears to see, hear us? Think a baseline of how creatures run away or attack you based on hearing you or seeing you in The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. So yeah, that's something we've talked about, and it's something that we actually have in the game right now, though we haven't really taken advantage of it yet. But it's there. It exists as a system, and that's different perception modes for different NPCs, right? I think one of the games the best was Final Fantasy XI back in the day, where you had scent, you had sight, you had magic. Like there was all sorts of different things that you had to like protect yourself against, so that certain mobs couldn't see you, and you could maintain that ability to like kind of sneak past easily. And I thought that was always really cool. It made those monsters unique and gave them character outside of just how much damage they did to me. Trying to run away from bogeys is...
Or being low level and like trying to go to a group in the dunes. I'll remember that forever.
So that's something that we have right now. We will have many different perception modes, and just going invisible won't necessarily make you immune to be seeing from everybody. And Rangers actually will probably have a good anti-invisibility counter of some wavelengths.
Yep. Okay. Any chance at a Giga Stuffer Tins world boss?
Here you
go.
Bacon?
What?
Mixed Stuffersons?
That's an appropriate response.
Stuffersons?
World boss?
World boss Stuffersons?
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? Why not? How big? How big of a world boss?
I would assume huge.
Like Stay Puft Marshmallow Man size, that kind of thing?
Yeah.
The world actually exists within Stuffer Tins.
With maybe... Oh, wow. Yeah.
It's a lore leak for everyone. Let's see. Will the Lord's gods or almighty powers have a strong or weak control on the world's events or battles? That is, faction buffs, location access, special abilities. Okay, I'm trying to think what that actually means and parse that, because the Lord's part could be players, right? The gods part could just be the server, I guess, or
the devs.
Right. I'm trying.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's metaphorical or
Right.
literal.
Yeah. Like. But I mean, players will definitely have a lever there on the world's events, in that by doing something or not doing something, things happen.
Right.
And there's always a decision there for, kind of cleaning up, as we've alluded to in playing PAX. I know leading players through that, talking about bosses spawning and just events in the world in general. Solving a problem can maybe cause a solution or a reward, or cause another problem. Right. So I think in that way, if we think about it and approach it that way, definitely there's agency everywhere for players to affect the world in general.
Yeah, it's not going to be just a handful of guilds kind of deciding what server happens.
Right.
Unless everybody on the server is a member of one of those guilds, right?
Right.
Which I don't think is going to happen.
Right.
There's always going to be chaos that can happen due to the actions of one individual, right? So, like, if you keep in mind, like, how our government system works, it usually comes down to one or two players, and being in a guild isn't going to necessarily help you win in a militaristic node, right? It's going to be whoever the best player is at that moment in time against however many other players decide to take part in that brawl. So there's always an opportunity for people who are not in charge to kind of rise up and change things.
Right, absolutely. Which is one of the coolest parts, I think, is that just no matter what your station, you're able to do something in the world. So Black Hole asks, how do you plan on making questing interesting? Traditionally, MMOs have mainly been kill X mobs or fetch Y items.
Yeah, so that is one. So MMOs live and breathe by their content, right? And sort of having goals kind of at every level. The way I've looked at that is those, like, go kill 5 wolves is a filler quest, right? It doesn't really have any relationship to the overall narrative, and it doesn't really have any impact one way or the other, right?
Right.
So the idea is to take those, turn them into sort of like, goal-oriented tasks that have no narrative associated with them. You're not going to save the world by going to kill these wolves,
Right.
but you might have some knock-on effect on the node to like take care of that, right? So that's something you're going to see throughout the world as we continue to build it. You'll be out in the wild and you'll get tasks, and these tasks will just let you know that, hey, there's an interesting thing happening over here. You might want to take care of it. And so that's where we put those kinds of quests at, is in the task system. Really low narrative, we just give you some context and then a goal, and then you can go handle it or not. And then the narratives are going to be way more focused on like telling a story, and they'll be multi-part, and there will be no killing of 5 wolves. There will be, trying to accomplish something. So
Yeah, it'd be interesting if you implemented like compound quests.
Right.
Or like you start with this, and then all of a sudden it turns into something else, and turns into the multi-stage
Right.
kind of development where as you're going through it, the story's unfolding as you're kind of handling this quest, and then what you end up at the end is like wow, this is awesome.
Right, and that's exactly the intention of the whole system, is to kind of create the ability to not rely on those tasks to tell the story, but to actually tell the story, right?
Yeah,
and that's
cool.
That's our goal. If you went to PAX and you played through that narrative, right? Like that's what you can expect from our storytelling, from our narrative quests, is that sort of, you're not going out to just do this one simple thing and then come back and then do the thing over and over and over and over and over and over again. It's going to be about going out and doing something, going out and changing the world in some way, whether it's in a large way or small way. But yeah, I have feelings about that.
One question, more, I guess, more high level, right? It's all caps. That's why I looked at. So the first word is crafting, comma. Will it be inspired by games like Star Wars Galaxies in terms of complexity? So I guess more conceptually, how complex do we think our crafting system is going to be?
Yeah, I mean,
compared to the field.
Star Wars Galaxies is a great example of it. I think Star Wars Galaxies had a great crafting system. Lots of things can be said about that game, but the resource gathering and the crafting system all together as a whole really was, I think, way beyond its time. It did a lot of really cool things that I think a lot of people were surprised about, and unfortunately hasn't really been copied since, at least not in sort of like any big way. But that's kind of the direction that we want to go, where there's choices to be made in the crafting system, and those choices change what you end up with, right? That it's not just about doing X recipe to get Y item, that there's actually thought involved in it, and there is, a market to be captured based on those decisions.
Yeah, for sure. This is actually a good question, I think, almost specifically because we cannot answer it. What % of the game will be PvP to PvE, or are you trying to have them both run hand in hand? So I think personally the answer is more so it just depends on what type of player you are.
Yeah.
We're trying to give as much as we can, to everybody on the server, right? That, typically in my MMO experience, in games that have allowed me, I will PvE until I hit max level and then just PvP for the rest of my career, right? And then there's other players who will only PvE, 100% of the time. So I think in our game especially, it's really about the split of what the players, actual personality and type
what their
is,
goals are,
what
right?
their goals are.
We could certainly see a situation where I start the game as a crafter, and that's what I want to do, and that's kind of where I want to spend my time, and I really don't engage in PvP at all if I don't want to, right? There will be opportunities for me to, right? If my node gets attacked, where I could bring up a sword and start participating and start helping it out, or I could just go somewhere else, right? Like, I don't have to participate in that. The goal in building the game is to have them be equal, right? That PvE builds things up, PvP brings things down in order to create the opportunity for new things to be created. So from our perspective, from our philosophical perspective, we look at them as equal things, but we certainly don't want all players to experience 50% PvP and 50% PvE. Right. So,
for sure. Let's see.
So Peter's looking at Discord. I'm looking at the forum.
Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to look at Trying to read these here.
Psi M3X. The game has a very promising premise, thank you, but that premise is very dependent on the server's population to work correctly. Can you give some examples of solutions you have in place for a small population early or later in the game's life? So a lot of this is in terms of A, the economy, and B, the nodes, right? For the economy, it really just depends on, one of the things that we've talked about for that is having things that NPCs buy and sell kind of scale based on the economic activity that exists on that server, right? So that, as inflation rises, prices rise, and everything kind of ends up being equal, even though there might be a couple of extra zeros. So that can go up and it can also go down. So as a population leaves, things become less expensive and players don't have to do as much to earn that.
Right.
On the other side of things, we look at the node system, and the node system set up in this really flexible way that allows us to scale the experience needed to level a node and the attrition that delevels a node to scale based on activity too. So it's just a matter of adjusting a couple of constants, and that goes up and down, and the server can watch it and change those on the fly as it needs to. So,
I mean, as developers, we have target numbers for these types of things. Right? So it's like when you mentioned attrition or the building up of a node, the creation of a node. We have target times for those, target numbers, and you basically have to see if those targets are met, if they're, if we overestimate, if we underestimate, and it's the same thing with the economy, right? You get to inflation, you have games that, okay, I had 1 million gold and now I have 10 billion gold, right? And as long as you have target numbers and are able to dial that in further or back, usually you're able to handle that as long as you're on top of it.
right.
And
again, it's about building those systems early so that you don't have to deal with that problem later.
Absolutely. You don't want to play catch up ever. Will there be a secret cow level? I like that question.
Secret cow level.
Cow level?
Like in Diablo.
Like a Diablo.
Oh, gotcha. There's going to be some secrets.
There you go. Like that.
They may not be cows.
That's good. Can we get okay.
There was another question here that reminded me about that economy question. It was along the lines of, let's see if I can find it. What kind of plan do you have to implement a robust anti-cheat system in the game? This is from Xylodon. Since the economy is going to be such a central element with no soul binding of most items, protecting the game from exploits and bots used to accumulate wealth is critical for the game to survive at launch. This is something that we totally agree with. And again, the nature of the game being so in the hands of players is something we take very seriously. And all of us have come from a background of MMO. So we've seen economies rise, we've seen economies fall, we've seen bad player behavior, and we've learned how to deal with it. And so that's one of the things that we are implementing from the very beginning. It's in the game right now. And it's about we can't tell you exactly what those are because we don't want them to be feeded easily, but part of it is watching behavior of players in the game, finding errant behavior, and having those things surface to us in a way that's automated and can allow us to address those things as it's happening. So that could take the form of automatic bans, it could take the form of a review process, but that information is there and we can see that information in real time. So as soon as something gets weird, as soon as somebody starts showing bot behavior, we can zone in on it within a matter of minutes. So people are not going to have an opportunity to get away with too much.
I think that since the beginning, we've always talked about being data driven and being able to figure out why things are happening the way they are, not just for people who cheat, but for figuring out how the systems are actually being used by players, right? It's invaluable information to know what players are actually using from the systems you make, to how they're using it, to know how much input is going there, how much output is going there, and all that goes into not just cheating, but into actually how players are using the game in a legal way, right? So it's super important to be data driven and be cognizant of how much that helps development and the cheating, the anti-cheating process.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, it's one of those things if you, as a designer, you're like, oh, this quest is going to be awesome, and you don't know that everybody's not taking this quest, right? And there's you know there's supposed to be this really awesome reward that you've been giving out, but like you're looking at the data and you're like, nobody is taking this stupid quest. And you were so excited about it. So you gotta dig into why are they not taking it. And it might be that it's too hard. It might be that the reward that you thought was awesome really isn't that awesome.
Right.
It might be that the quest giver is broken and they can't take it. So all those things like we can see, and it's
Right.
pretty cool.
Balrog asks, will there be any hidden classes or unique unlockable classes?
Probably not hidden classes, so not like in terms of like Jedi or actually Jedi is the only one I can think of right now from Star Wars Galaxies. But yeah, we want sort of everybody to sort of have an equal playing field on that side of things. But when it comes to augments, that might be a different story. We have different organizations, we have different guilds, we have different religions, and all of those things have the opportunity to offer augments to skills. And if some of those happen to be hidden, and some of those might be, super secret, and you might end up with a tank who has a skill that nobody else has, that's totally in the realm of possibility.
Are public transport caravans planned where people can go AFK while being driven from town to town?
Say that again.
Basically,
Sorry.
it's okay.
Steven was distracting me.
All right, we're gonna swap.
He's dancing.
Are there public transport caravans planned where you can go AFK and be driven somewhere?
Oh,
like
that's
what
a
games have
really
ferries
interesting
or-
idea. Yeah, we actually will. We will have some of those. One of the nodes has the idea of an airship that can go from node to node.
Yep.
And I'm certain that we will have harbors that do similar things with other node types. So yeah, it also might be something, now that you say it, it might be something that could be player driven.
Right.
Where you
sure
could
both
have
ways, yeah.
a taxi system, where you
Charge
load
for
up
the
a couple
fare.
people and you drive them somewhere while you AFK. That might be something.
Hello,
Steven, you're back.
How are you doing?
Doing pretty good.
I think we're doing pretty
Yeah.
Answering a lot of questions.
I see the stream hasn't burned down yet, so
Not
you
yet.
managed
It's,
well.
it's still there.
That's
There was a
good.
5-second delay, so.
Oh,
you know,
really?
Right, they don't know it.
Oh no, what are you guys up to? Answering questions?
Answering lots of questions. Yeah.
Yeah, we get through the forum questions this time. I know last time we forgot the forum.
No, I've been
questions.
looking at the forums.
Okay,
all
cool,
day
cool,
long.
cool. Good.
Going back and forth.
Good, awesome. Well, we finished the playtest.
Fantastic. Was it good? Did it work?
was very good. Yes, it worked. This is really, there's no, as you know, there's no design elements in the castle just yet. Systems aren't ready yet.
Right.
But this was us at the castle. I led a little raid into the castle. There were some defenders there. We had
Cool.
some brawl.
So it wasn't a peaceful meeting of minds.
No, it wasn't a peaceful meeting. Suffice to say, the diplomacy didn't work out so well.
I see.
Yeah,
I see.
but it was okay.
Did you
through
win?
force of will, we used diplomacy.
I see.
Fair.
Which is a very
Valid
valid
tactic.
version. Yeah.
Right,
Absolutely.
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 So Tristan's loading that video up. I know that we have some art that we can show
Oh, cool.
while that's being loaded.
Okay.
This stream may go over slightly today, which is fine as reparation for the delay. We're sorry about that, but we thought you guys would be willing to wait in exchange for some progress report visually of what we're working towards, which is those castle siege systems, the city siege systems, all in preparation for phase 1 of Alpha 1. So everything's going swimmingly with regards to development. As I'm
Perfect
sure
for summer.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely. Which I'm sure, did you guys talk a little bit about that at all?
Not really.
No? Okay, well, as you guys may have heard, we did just finish 2 straight weeks of Alpha 0 testing, which was an accomplishment for us at the studios
Yeah.
because...
This means the servers were up for 2 weeks.
Right, the servers were up for 2 weeks straight. Now, as you guys also know, it is the 1-year anniversary of Kickstarter being complete. And we're actually pretty proud as a team about that accomplishment, having those servers up for 2 straight weeks with over 2,000 participants throughout that time on the Alpha 0 testing environment. Because
No,
that
it was-
is not heard of.
Yeah.
Right.
No, it was solid, man.
Yeah, that it's not heard of that type of development speed is achieved with an MMORPG.
Yeah. Not at this stage. Not now.
And
Yeah.
I played a lot of MMOs. I've been a part of a lot of alphas, as I'm sure many of you have. I've been a part of a lot of betas. You typically don't even see that type of event past like
Yeah.
3 years
Yeah.
of development.
It's because of what we focused on, right? Like we
Right.
focused on the fundamentals of making sure that, we have all our ducks in a row. We're making this really great game, and it would be a shame if we launched it and our service crashed all the time.
Right.
Right? Like that's the backbone. That's what makes the game possible.
Absolutely. That is
So
absolutely
so
correct.
really focusing a lot of our attention on that, and it's cool to be able to use our launcher and to download it and have it hosted, and all of these things work seamlessly.
And on top of all those things, being player centric, like our focus is getting something in the hands of the players that we can iterate on, test on, get feedback on, make you guys a part of the development process, not be shuttered away for
Right.
3, 4, 5 years
In the darkness.
In the
Right.
darkness, and then we come out with something that people don't like.
Right.
Right. So I mean, the bottom line is, from our top down, we are all about providing an experience that allows us to iterate based on feedback from the players. Right, and the only best way to do that is to get something in their
actually
hands.
get it to the players.
Absolutely, 100%. So we're pretty proud of that. We did bring on 7 new team members who we will be announcing at the end of June. Are we in June? It's June.
We are in June 4th today. is.
Oh my gosh, that's
Time
crazy.
flies.
Time
Yeah.
flies. Yeah, we'll announce those individuals the end of June. We do have some other interesting developments that you'll likely be hearing about throughout June.
Yeah, a lot of stuff on the business side of things.
Yes, a lot of stuff on the business side going on. So that's interesting. What else?
Capital I.
Capital I. What else is going on? Just a general awesome, past development cycle.
Yeah, mhm,
Yeah. We've been really proud with where things are. So that's pretty cool. What can we show? What do we got? I can't see anything. Hey, Jason, can you see if you can help Michael with that parrot? With the parrot? Sorry, I can't see what we're going to look at.
Armor concept.
Concept? Okay. I still can't see it. Hold on. We have our technical director, Mr. Jason Crawford, who's an avid Magic player. And I will add a Magic player that plays to...
Not to win.
Not to win.
But so others
Just so
don't
others get angry.
Right.
Right. So,
Right.
those of you who play Magic know that color is called blue.
Right.
My favorite color.
Which is what Jason loves to play with.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's an interesting tidbit
Right. There you
about
go.
Jason.
74 pure counter
He is
spells.
right now reveling in this information. How we doing? Good? Maybe? No. Oh, okay, we can't restart the Wi-Fi on that one. That's okay. Turn this thing over to me, and then so I can partially see it, and then throw it up there, and I can describe what we're looking at.
I don't know.
It's hard.
All right. So what we are looking at right now is some concept armor that Mr. Matt Broom, lead character artist, worked out. That is new armor we're looking. You're not going to see this in the playtest right now because it hasn't been implemented yet. Although this set has been modeled.
Yeah, it's
and
just
they are
about to
working
be
on materials
implemented.
right
Yep,
now,
yep.
right?
They
We
are.
should probably see it next week.
It's gonna
Next
look
week, I think we should have that in game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. What do we got next? Robe again. I believe you guys may have seen these. This is a robe concept, which was a concept by Matt Broom, but modeled by Keith Kovac.
Yep.
And this is also being implemented next week, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all the details you're
progress.
seeing is almost entirely modeled. So,
Right.
like, you're not just seeing cool, like, textures on that, but, like, you're actually going to be able to feel the
And
detail.
the great way that Matt and the entire character team has really implemented the construction of these these armor pieces, is that many of those attachments, those designs that are present on the armors, they can be used to create multiple pieces and rearranged and look completely different on different sets, so that thematically there's a wide diversity of capable visuals in the game. You're not going to see these uniform, everybody kind of looks the same, you get to a certain level and everybody has this exact looking same pieces, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we want to do. It's a different approach to what probably you're used to, but also the important thing is that, armor that looks good, and myself as a player, this is important to me, armor that looks good, and I'm talking like really good, is achievable in-game, doesn't have to be purchased through a paywall.
Yeah.
Okay? And I know there are many of us who have played some games that need not be mentioned, where the armor you can achieve looks like this, and then the armor you have to buy looks like this, and that's not very cool.
No. It's not.
It's not rewarding.
Especially when you're an adventurer, right?
Yes.
Like, you're out in the world, you're trying to earn your keep, and you just killed this awesome boss, and I look like garbage.
Right. I look
afterwards. Like, it should be an epic moment.
Right.
We should reward you for that.
I look like I'm wearing a plant suit.
Yeah.
Do you know what game that is?
I can think
You
of
think
one.
so?
Yeah.
Rhymes with
Okay.
GBO.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
I have no idea what game you're talking about.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so this is actually a modeled weapon. So that's the model. And
We call this weapon a bow.
This is a bow. So what people use to shoot arrows. No, I'm just kidding. Really cool. I like it a lot. It looks great. I love the. That's obviously, as you can tell, there's some Empyrean influences there with some of the winged accent pieces on the weapon. You're likely going to see some of this because I believe the last milestone that you're seeing here had Empyrean influences. Same here. This is the elusive crossbow, which I believe was shown last stream accidentally. But this is the modeled version of, or was that the potion launcher? I think it was might have been the potion.
It was both. It was
So
both.
this is a crossbow. What do we have here? Morningstar. This is a mace. Looks like this is the modeled weapon. So this is what's going to be in game.
Crazy detail.
Looks awesome. I literally don't really play characters that often use Morningstars or maces, but I would just for that weapon.
Yep.
The detail is amazing. What else we got here? Ooh, this is a nice one. A long sword. Some kind of long sword. Looks like Excalibur. That might be copyrighted, so it is not referenced from that.
I don't think you can copyright Excalibur.
Can you copyright Excalibur?
No, it's got to be in the public domain by now.
It's been like 500 years. It must be. This looks like a piece of environment. This is an in-game environmental area. I will not say the name of this area. But I will say that this was an area done by Mr. Javier Perez, awesome environment and material guy, senior environment artist here at Intrepid. This is inside that area that shall not be named. This is more of that area that shall not be named, which looks great. Some of the rocks, those jagged, awesome looking rocks that give that whole aesthetic a cool, yeah, it's okay. You can just
Yeah, all you see is our necks now. Normally, we can look straight ahead and see all these.
I'm so sorry. Yes.
It's okay,
For
though.
some reason, this isn't working, and you don't know this, but behind you is a large TV that shows us what you're seeing so that we know what to discuss. That's okay. How are we doing on video? Because we can also chat. Oh, video's ready?
Oh, that's so weird.
What? What's the matter?
It just kind of pops in and just pops right back out. Now
Oh,
it's working.
that's okay. That's fine. This is a mage tower.
Mage tower.
Mage tower. That's a kitty. This is John, another senior environment artist here. Did this mage tower, which looks awesome. The interior is cool. I think you guys did see, or is
Some
that the
concept
university?
work.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
concept work. But university had that large statue that was placeholder statue, but that was like the interior of the university, which would be attached to this
the
kind of
mage
mage
tower,
tower. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, we got video. So why don't we make sure that when you have the audio source for the video, that we turn that way down so we can continue to talk
Okay. All right.
over it.
We're gonna have to. Okay.
What? Okay.
Yeah.
I've not seen this yet.
Video camera, media source.
I guess.
I don't know what
Maybe
Steven
I'll
has
stand
done.
I don't know what
Just
I've
there.
done. So guys, as
Looking
you
good
can
so far.
see here, this is a small little attack squad that I was leading just moments ago. This is one of the castles in our Alpha Zero environment right now in preparation for first phase of Alpha 1. This is very early. Very, 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 very early.
Steven,
And
is it early?
I don't know. Is it early? It looks early. all of from animations to effects to skills to everything. These are first passes. The purpose of our testing is to iterate, perfect, get ready for launch. We're going to have a very smooth launch because we're going to be testing a lot, and
It's going to be the smoothest.
It's going to be the smoothest launch.
Oh God, we shouldn't say that.
Oh no!
No, what am I doing?
Done. Where's wood? Find wood. Wait. Okay, we're good. We're good. I knocked on wood. We're fine.
We're working very hard to make that happen.
Yes, that is right. I mean, that is you know what? I'll be honest with you. Every single MMO I've ever played has had a rocky launch. I think it's just a part of MMOs. I'm not going to say we won't have, obviously, things that are going to come up at launch.
Right.
There are going to be issues at launch, but the most important thing is twofold. One, testing, testing, testing. Two, listen, listen, listen. So you test and you listen to your community. And you do those two things, you should be shipshape.
Yeah, I'd agree, 100%.
So I was hiding, admittedly, but there was a lot going on in that first area.
It's a little scary in there.
It was a little bit scary. And guys, I want to impress upon you one more time. I know you know this, but I'm telling you right now, we're 1 year anniversary from Kickstarter. 1 year anniversary from Kickstarter. And this is the degree to which we are testing, which is great because the more you test, the more opportunity you're hands-on and you can see what needs to change. We haven't implemented, you're not seeing any implemented combat changes in this right now. So those are all being worked up, but they're in a separate branch, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
They're not quite ready for prime time yet.
you probably will see some of the new combat stuff that we're working on in about a month to a month and a half-ish. We'll start to show
I think that's probably fair.
some of that stuff. In this test environment, we have mainly focused on traditional tab targetable systems, because that's what's easy to get up and running first. It lends to that test environment. But now we're getting our hands on currently the action-oriented stuff and finding the blend, the medium between those two play experiences and how they can blend together.
Right, and how we can use them in tandem.
Right, so you've seen some tab targetable stuff. In the future, you're going to see heavy emphasis on action-oriented stuff. And then once we nail that, we're going to blend the two together.
Yeah. And the action stuff is coming out real fun.
Yeah.
We've been doing some playtests internally, and like what we have so far is pretty exciting.
Now, I know that you guys have been working with both projectiles and raycasts, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a different way of doing things than the traditional way, but it allows us to do some really fun stuff. Tactics that you normally wouldn't see in an MMO. And it makes the experience, it gives you a little bit more ownership of your character and what they're doing.
One really cool thing you guys are seeing here, obviously UI is placeholder. However, I will say that we did just recently, about a month ago, implement a new UI tech that we're going to be housing our final UI in. And we also brought on board a new UI engineer.
Right.
As well as outsourcing some UI art immediately, but we'll be having internal UI art stuff. But that's going to be shown off probably in, again, about a month and a half to 2 months. We'll have some iterations on the UI. All of this UI is placeholder, obviously, but really cool thing about being a part of the community for Ashes of Creation is being able to see the project as it progresses. And I think it's really cool to go back a year ago and look at what we put out a year ago. Remember that? Okay, remember we did what was that first one that we did? It was, I can't remember the name of the video, but it was like 2 to 3 months before Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And he was just swinging. Remember that? And he was just swinging. And I was like, and I think we actually took that video down after like
We did,
2
yeah.
months.
That was.
And
We got some flack on that
some
one.
heat.
Right, got some heat. Now for us, it was like, hey, we've been in the project for less than a month, and we're showing you what can be done in less than a month. And people were like,
Please be nice, please be
this
nice.
looked like, whatever. And it's just like, guys, the purpose of a transparent development window is to let you see the process from start to finish.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, that's risky. I've said before, it's a two-edged sword, a double-edged sword, but it's something I truly believe the community needs to see because you become invested in a project. You get to see it from start to finish. You're not surprised.
And it also
There-
becomes a
yeah.
touch point, right? Because then you can look back and go like,
Yes.
wow,
Right.
this has come a long way, right?
Yes.
It just didn't form out of nothing, right? There was a lot of work to
Right.
be done to get it to the point where it is now.
You know the great thing is, I don't think I ever took the video down. I think I just privated it. So let's say a year from now or 6 months from now, we unprivate that and
Like on
people
like
can
a-
look, contrast.
yeah.
That'd be kind of cool.
It'd be a nice April Fool's joke.
Yeah, no. Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry. I think I'm not a good player at my own game.
What have you done, Steve?
I think I died multiple times, just a lot. I was very tempted to put on some GM armor. Oh, somebody black holed me. But I didn't. I should have. It was unfortunate. And Jeff, you weren't in this playtest, so I didn't have my right-hand man to protect me.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Where were you?
I failed my
I was
clericing
looking for
abilities.
a healer.
Yeah.
No. I didn't even have. I didn't have.
No,
a
you put me
healer.
on this live stream so that you could do that.
That's true. This is true.
Can't be in two places at once. Although it might have been kind of fun to just show them me playing.
Do like live.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that, but for some reason, I think the frame rate doesn't look good when you live.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
Yeah. Although frames in this test were pretty good. I think we had about almost 40 people total playing in the test. And I was getting capped FPS client side, and I know server was operating at above 60 FPS, so that was
Nice.
good.
I love those numbers.
I know.
They make me happy.
Wait until we get a few hundred people fighting in there.
Yeah.
That'll be pretty
what
cool.
happens.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know. That'll be pretty awesome. Yeah, so we're pretty proud with this progress so far. What else has been going on?
Lots and lots of work, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of work.
Trying to think. We do sprints in 2-week time periods now. So at the end of every 2-week session, we do a big playthrough with the entire office, and then we kind of go and take a look at what all the different departments have been doing those last 2 weeks, and it's been really good because it keeps us honest and we get to see kind of like what we've really done in that time.
Yeah, I think now that we transitioned away from that waterfall into more agile-oriented project management has been really good.
Yeah, I mean, just for keeping tabs on everything, like it's good to know like, oh, this weapon is done, I can go and use it now,
Right.
and
And on top of that, like if there are changes that need to be made, they can be made on the run,
Right.
like quick, right? Every sprint, you just pop in, reprioritize
Right.
whatever you need to do.
we're back.
on. Hello. Hello,
Hi, everyone.
friends. So I hope that the 1 hour delay was worth taking a look at our current castle look. What am I saying? Siege. It's not really a siege because there's no mechanics there, but I
Not
mean,
yet.
just being in the
It's coming
castle and
though.
fighting. And stuff. And then in next month, you guys will get to see progress from that point.
Yeah.
So that'll be pretty cool. How about some more questions? Do we have more questions?
I don't know. I think there's always more questions.
Probably.
We are 9 minutes over.
Oh, are we not? Okay, well, let's take a couple more questions. Let's see, I have a Discord. By the way, I know that I have not been on Discord a lot or on the forums chatting very much. It's been a particularly busy past couple of months-ish, 3 months. Well, 5 years for me, but
That's what it feels like sometimes. Things move faster at Intrepid.
yes.
I've got a question.
Okay, go for it.
Farce of Nature asks or says, I seem to remember at one point or another there was mention of a mobile app linked to the game. Could you go into details on what features you plan on implementing on this app? Or did I imagine the whole thing? You did not imagine the whole thing. It's something that we are talking about.
What was the question about?
Oh my gosh.
I'm
you
so
weren't
sorry. I was
listening.
reading something.
It's okay.
I opened my phone and I saw something that stuck out. Go ahead.
I seem to remember at one point or another there was mention of a mobile app linked to
Oh,
the
yeah,
game.
go ahead. Sure.
Could Could you go into details on what features you plan on implementing? in this
Yes.
app?
Would you like to go into some details?
Sure. So the idea is to make sure that like when things are happening in the world, we let you know. That's kind of like the big purpose of it. So if the node you're a part of is being sieged, or the castle that you're taking is about to go down, or your crops need to be rotated, events of that nature, you can just shift off to your phone and by and large, be able to deal with it a little bit. When it comes to crops, rotating those plants. When it comes to, City Siege, you might not be able to log in on your phone, but at least you'll know what's happening, and you can run to a computer really quick.
I like to compare the idea behind the mobile app and what systems it's going to interface with on the MMORPG with how I've kind of set up in the past D&D campaigns, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, you have active material. The active material is when you're in a session, you're sitting down with other players at a table, you have things to do, you have role play to encounter, you have mechanics and fights that ensue and stuff like that. When you're not at the table and the week ensues after the session, you have downtime conversations with
Right.
all the players, and they can, run their business. They
Right.
can manage their guild that they've established, their leadership feat they've taken, their followers. They can craft. They can do all that kind of stuff. The mobile app kind of is akin to that idea.
Yeah.
If there is
a really good
non-active mechanics that are present for you to participate in when you're not at the computer, when you're out and about or on vacation or wherever you may be, you can access that downtime stuff from your phone.
Right.
And that's a way for you to stay connected. And that's kind of the idea, the behind how we want that mobile to interface with the game.
Yeah.
Sure.
Good question.
Yeah, great question.
What else we got? One more. Let's do one more question.
One more? All right, let's try and
Whoever
think of
finds one first.
Okay. What do you got?
Okay, I got maybe one.
Okay.
Weapon progression has been mentioned here and there, but never elaborated on. What do we get from progressing a weapon?
Ooh,
Can we
that's a
change
good
our weapon skill and or unlock extra weapon skills to put on our action bar?
Yes. Consider a weapon to a degree, a very minor degree, but consider it to be its own class,
Yeah.
right? It has its own skill progression tree. It has its own equipment in the sense that you can augment a weapon, you can enchant a weapon, right?
Yeah,
so it,
yeah.
in a way, it's sort of its own class progression.
Yeah, I could totally see that argument being made. Yeah.
And what we want that to be for you, okay, Ashes of Creation is all about providing many progression paths, right? The reason why we don't like the term endgame is because with the amount of progression that's available, with the amount of diversity and player agency that impacts the world, with the way the node systems work, there are so many things that players can do. We kind of want a weapon system and add an element of that as well,
Yeah.
right? That's just another version of a path that you can go down to better something. So, you can determine special effects that proc from currently the combo system, right? You can determine ancillary effects that proc based on enchantment types. You can power stone weapons to add different either elemental types of damage and or energy that kind of play rock, paper, scissors with player defenses, right? Those are systems that, and then you can skill tree out how those effects that are granted through the combo system work, right? You can make them better, you can branch them off into a different direction.
You can change the order of them.
Exactly, yeah. So, good
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. Answer.
Okay, very
we're
cool. Well, again, sorry for the delay. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. We do have our next live stream is going to be a month from today, I believe. Let me double check. I think I had made it, right? It is.
Ish, because July 4th.
Oh, no, that's July 4th.
Yeah, ish.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
So it'll likely be, okay, well, we'll announce when that is.
Okay.
We had one more thing that we were going to show,
What was that?
which are the new cosmetics.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Right. Do we have, I think they're in, I think Ryan put them into the channel. thing. I don't know if we can do that. Do we know how to do that? Yeah, you can just pop it in there. It's in updates, marketing updates. Sorry, guys. We will give you a sneak peek. The existing Woodlands cosmetics will be coming down in when, Peter? About
After the stream.
right after the stream, about an hour tops.
Probably, yeah.
30 minutes-ish. And then these will be going up afterwards.
Down, I think.
Are they there? I think they were right at bottom. Bottom. There they are. Yes. Oh my gosh, I love that little dude. You download them? Oh yeah, they're pretty quick. You can just grab them. Let's see. There you go. All right, so first up, we have a pet. Oh really? Is it super big?
It's super big.
Oh, these are like giant PNGs?
Yeah.
Nice. Very nice. Let me scale it down. There we go. All right, so this is a little pet. I won't reveal everything. You'll find out the names in about 3 hours. You just get to see the images.
Okay.
So if this is a pet, what else we got? Oh my God.
It is just
that thing
black.
Is gargantuan.
Oh wow.
This is the darkness. You can purchase the darkness.
Yeah.
Oh no. This is the ship. And awesome in the center is that sextant / radial sundial that has some history behind it, which you may find out in the description when it goes up. What else do we have? The darkness yet again. Oh, this is your favorite.
This is my favorite.
This is your favorite. This is Space Turtle.
I prefer the term galactic.
Oh, Galactic Turtle. Oh, that guy is so cool. Now, remind me, you want the shell to only appear that cosmic material if in the shade. Is that what it is?
As it moves, right?
As it
so
moves,
like as
it
it moves,
okay.
all the stars and
Are
nebula
moving
that
as
you
well.
see kind of shift.
Right. Okay. Very cool. I love it. Ooh, this is one of the costumes. Or this is the costume. This Oracle. This lover of the stars. That's awesome. I love the head mask on that.
Yeah, that thing's really cool.
That head mask is amazing. I think I would just wear that to work every day.
A little weird, Steve.
What?
It'd be a little weird.
How's that weird? Imagine the powers it gives you.
I mean, we'd be in a meeting or something.
Yeah, and then I would turn you into dust. I'm burying you. That's awesome. That is a observatory. It's a skin, a VEC observatory for the freeholds, and that will take place for one of the profession buildings that we have yet to touch on. And I think there might be one more, which is the face mask.
Another huge one.
Another giant one. And that face mask is meant to go with the... yeah. Wow, I didn't notice that guy had these giant gauges.
Yeah, those are really big.
All right, rock on, dude. Cool, looks awesome. Okay, so those are the new cosmetics that'll be going up shortly after the show. Guys, we want to thank you for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed this show. We will be with you next month. If it's after July 4th and you are, oh, it's American holiday. If you're an American, have fun on July 4th. If you're not American, have fun over the summer. We will chat with you soon. We love you guys. Thank you for supporting everything we're doing, and we will chat with you soon.
Thanks so much, you guys. We'll talk to you later.